and welcome to the Modax Consulting presentations on Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. I'm Brian Roberts, a senior consultant with Modax, and today we're going to be talking about lot and serial number tracking in Business Central. We're going to be taking a look at the item tracking codes, that is the setup that is required before you can use them, the difference between lot and serial numbers, and we'll run through a couple of sample transactions, purchasing some items and selling some items, so you get an overall feel for the process for lot and serial number tracking in Business Central. So I've set up a couple sample items, and I've added a column here, the item tracking code. Just did a quick personalize of the screen so I could bring that in. And I happen to be in the Kronos database, so these item tracking codes already exist. So let's take a look at that setup. In the Kronos database, there's a number of sample item tracking codes. You can make your own, and there is a large number of details that can be specified for this. So let's take a look at lot numbers first and then serial numbers afterwards. So lot numbers is a situation where you want to track batches or lots or production runs of a specific group of items and keep track of which one it is. This is a common requirement in the medical and food industries, and Business Central supports that using lot numbers. So in this particular item tracking code, have to be called lot all. The lot number here, there is a large number of checkboxes that have been turned on, indicating that we want to use lot tracking for stuff for purchases, selling, adjustments, all throughout that process. There are various other options down here. For example, this specific item tracking code does not require entry of an expiration date. But if I hop back to this example one right there, it has the same setup, but it does require entry of an expiration date. So the term expiration date is used, for example, if you have like a use by date or a best before date, it's the same thing as expiration date in Business Central. So you can see that there's a number of options you can turn on here. For those, a couple of the standard lot tracking ones. Let's go take a look at serial number tracking. So serial number tracking, an example would be electronics, your laptop computer, for example. And there's no lot tracking, but there is serial tracking. You can see, again, large number of things. We're going to track it for purchases, selling, inventory adjustments, and so on. However, you don't need to have all of these options turned on if your business does not require it. For example, you may want to track serial numbers at time of sale only. So in this case, the previous one we looked at had all of these turned on. This particular example has serial numbers tracked for selling only. You may notice that selling appears twice. There's outbound selling, which is the normal shipment to customer, and inbound would be a return. So in this case, you get to choose what matters for your business. An item with this item tracking code would not require tracking of serial numbers at time of purchase, only when you ship it to a customer. The actual setup is done on the item card. So my first example is a medical item. This bag requires that we track lot numbers all the way through the process. There's that drop down the list of item tracking codes we were looking at earlier. I've also specified that lot numbers are not assigned automatically. This is blank here. I could have it set up so that Business Central will automatically assign lot numbers. This might be more appropriate in a manufacturing environment where you're doing a manufacturing run. The lot numbers are sequential. You may have custom requirements for date stamps or machine IDs or something like that. In addition, on this item, I put an expiry calculation, 1Y for 1 year. I could also have 6M for 6 months and similar things like that. So Business Central will automatically calculate the expiry date based on the posting date of your transaction. So this is an item, medical item, full lot tracking. If I hop to my next sample item, this is a sample computer. I have set up serial number tracking to be done at time of sales only. And things like expiry dates just don't apply to computers, of course. So this is most of the setup you're looking at. I didn't cover every single option in the item tracking codes, but that's sort of the key points. Let's take a look at the purchasing process. So I've set up a purchase order. We're going to buy both these items. In real life, it'd be unlikely they come from the same vendor, but just doing a quick example here. So we're going to buy 20. I've got prices, everything filled in, and I quickly want to say, oh, I'm going to post the receipt. So notice I'm doing just a regular post here. I've not done anything with lot numbers yet. Go into the receive, click OK, and poof, we get an error message. In this case, because for the IV bags, we specify that lot numbers are required at all steps of the process, including purchase receipts, we must enter that. So that is done on the purchase order line in the item tracking line screen. So the item tracking line screen, which is going to pop up in just a second, is where you would enter lot numbers and serial numbers for the transaction that you're currently working on. Just to make clear, you first click on the line and then go into item tracking lines. You're looking at different data there. So in this case, we are receiving this item. We're receiving 20 of them. And I have a spot here to fill in a lot number. And I'm just making up a lot number. And I'm not going to fill in an expiration date manually. I could, but in this case, I've automatically set a calculation of, I think I typed in 6 months there. All 20 of them are the same lot number. You can add multiple lines here if the vendor ships you 3 different lot numbers in the same truckload or some scenario like that. Now that I filled in that item tracking lines, I can go ahead with my posting and the rest of the process. This puts them into inventory, and a record of that lot number that we recorded is recorded in inventory. Notice I did not enter any serial numbers yet. That's because on the laptop computer, I defined the serial numbers as being required at time of selling only. So let's go sell it. So I set up another sales order. I'm selling exactly the same pair of items we've been looking at. The quantities are slightly different. And if I try and actually do an immediate post, I'm going to get the same error message I saw before. Boom, must assign details on the item tracking lines. So on the IV bag line, I'm going to come into related information in my item tracking lines. This is the same screen visually from what we saw before. A small difference here is that when we were purchasing, I entered the lot number at time of receipt and I typed it in. In this case, because Business Central knows what lot numbers are available in inventory, I can actually search. There's 2 lot numbers here. In this case, this one I did earlier, and you saw me do this one a moment ago. So we happen to have physically picked this one. Notice the expiry date has been filled in automatically. I forgot to show that earlier when I was in the purchase order. And so there's our quantity that we are shipping from that lot number. Again, you could add multiple lines if you were shipping multiple lot numbers to this customer. So that's done for the IV bags. And I could post that line, but I would still get an error on this line here. I've not specified my serial number. So in this case, same screen. It's asking me to fill in a serial number. If I do a search, there is none. For this particular item, I chose not to track serial numbers at time of purchase or through our inventory. So in this case, you would have to type or more hopefully scan the serial number of the item that was physically shipped to the customer. There's multiple computers, you have to put in multiple lines with different serial numbers. Now that has been done, I filled in my item tracking information for both lines, and I can continue with the normal process. Let's ship and invoice it. I've now opened up the posted sales invoice. We can see exactly what was there. If there's a question from the customer about, hold on a second, on this invoice, what serial number was that? You can certainly find that. Coming down to choosing the line you want, go into lines and item tracking entries. This is a read-only display of what serial number we actually ship to the customer. So there's a full history there if you need it for any sort of um, discussions with the customer or tracing for potential product recalls and warnings and stuff like that. So we've taken a brief look at the lot and serial number tracking in Business Central, looked at the item tracking code setup there, touching on a couple of common options, but certainly not every available feature that is there. And then we looked at a couple of processes for purchasing and selling of lot and serial number tracked items. Something I did not demonstrate is the manufacturing side does completely support lot and serial number tracking as well. So production order consumption, production order output works exactly the same concept as what you just saw. Go in and specify the in the item tracking lines the lot number that's being consumed. If you have any other questions about lot or serial tracking or Business Central in general, please reach out to Modax Consulting. We'll be happy to assist you with any questions. Thanks for your time.